So thank you for the introduction. My name again is Yair Lakretz, and I'm a PhD student in the Sagol School of Neuroscience in Tel Aviv University. And today I will present to you a work which is a collaboration between the Sagol School of Neuroscience, the Gonda Multidisciplinary Brain Research Center, and IBM Research Department. The work is called Probabilistic Graphical Models of Dyslexia, an adjacent field of soccer. So dyslexia is a highly common disorder with prevalence ranging between 5% and about 17%. Maybe we are not aware of it in the everyday, but reading is a very complex process involving multiple areas in the brain. And so is dyslexia. A dyslexic person may read the word 3 as there, or as tree, or as 4. So a part of what we do in our brain and language lab is research about dyslexia. And for this, we hand out screening tests. And as you can see, a complex image may emerge. For example, I don't have the, okay. For example, you can see errors like here, broad is read as board, and spilt is read as split. So some letters have migrated inside the word, but there could be also different types of errors. For example, the word none is read as known. Here it's because of the E at the end. So the person reads according to the regular rules to convert letters to sounds, grapheme to phonemes. And there's a very interesting cognitive model that tries to explain this complex picture. And as it is called the dual root reading model. And as its name suggests, reading takes place in two different roots. A lexical root, which is used to read already known words, familiar words, and there is a fast association between visual and auditory information, and a sublexical root, which is used to read new words, non-familiar words, and this is a much slower route because when we read a new word, we need to convert the letters into sounds, and it's a more demanding task. And the two roots begin with a mutual stage, orthographic visual analysis, and there are three processes that takes place in this stage: the identification of each letter inside the word, the position of each letter inside the word, and the binding of the letters to the words. So, for example, if a dyslexic person has a specific deficit in the letter position processing, and he is presented with the word board. So after the first, after the first stage, the word would be processed as broad instead of board, and the output would be broad and not board. So this type of dyslexia is called letter position dyslexia. And another example is, for example, when a dyslexic person has a deficit in the orthographic input lexicon. This is a long-term memory component where the way words are written is stored. So, for example, if this person is presented with the word none, so everything is okay after the first stage, but then this person is obliged to read this word through the sublexical route, and the regular rules to convert grapheme into phonemes will output the word as known instead of none. Okay, so in this way you can think of different types of dyslexia according to deficits in different loci in the model. Sorry, I didn't mention this. The previous type of dyslexia is called surface dyslexia. But as many times happen in science, This model is controversial, and some researchers believe that dyslexia could be explained with only a single cause. So we call this approach to dyslexia the single type approach, and this type of the other approach, the subtypes approach to dyslexia. So the debate in this field is whether there is one or many types of dyslexia. So what we propose to do is to analyze the reading errors from dyslexic people using probabilistic graphical models. And we ask three different questions. First, we ask, can a graphical model diagnose dyslexia close to how experts do? Currently, the diagnostic procedure is complicated. A person needs to go to an expert, and it could also be costly. And an automation of the process could make the diagnostic procedure more accessible and even cheaper. Second, we ask which graphical model best captures the hidden structures of reading errors. And last, we ask whether a graphical model can shed light on this question, whether it is one type of dyslexia or many types. So to answer these questions, we have constructed three different graphical models that differ by their complexity. And so I believe that most of you are familiar with the Naeve Bayes models, and I will explain now about the latent directly allocation model. So the LDA model was proposed about a decade ago by David Bly et al. And the idea is that imagine that you are given a bag of words and you're asked to say what are the main topics of the document. So this is a relatively easy task for us, but we would like to have a model that can do it automatically for millions of documents. So this is what the LDA model does. It is the observed variables are the words, and the model learns three things. First, it learns for each document a distribution over the topics, so we can infer what are the main topics of the document. Second, it learns for all documents and per each topic a distribution over the words. So this basically defines the topic. For example, here, if gene, DNA, and genetic have high probabilities, so we can interpret this as molecular biology, for example. And last, for each word in each document, it learns the hidden topic that has generated the word. So this is important because think, for example, on the word bank. So the hidden topic could be something from economics, but it could also be something from nature if this is a bank of a river. So the model can help us also to disambiguate between different meanings of a word. So this is the plate diagram of the LDA model. And again, we have the observed variables are the words in the documents, and the model learns three things. For each document, it learns the distribution over the topics. For all documents, it learns, and per each topic, a distribution over the words. And for each word in each document, it learns the hidden topic that has generated this word. So what has all this got to do with reading? In our case, we have the target word, which is presented to the reader, for example, cloud. And now we have another observed variable, which is the response of the subject, for example, could. And we are interested in the hidden state, the hidden dyslexia state that is responsible for the generation of the error. So it could be, for example, letter position dyslexia. For example, the L has migrated inside the word, but it could also be vowel dyslexia. if the subject has a specific deficit in processing vowels. So remember the bank example. This is a similar case. So again, we have pairs of target words and responses. These are the observed variables to the model. And the model learns three things. For each subject, it learns a distribution over the dyslexia state. Second, it learns for all subjects, and per each dyslexia state and per each target word, a distribution over the possible errors. And last, for each response, it learns the hidden dyslexia state that has generated this error. So you can compare between the classic LDA model and the dyslexia LDA model. They are quite similar. We trained the model using Gibbs sampling, and we have derived the corresponding update rule, which is also similar to the classic case. So these are, again, the three graphical models. Note that the difference between Naeve Bayes 1 and Naeve Bayes 2 is that the error is dependent also on the target word in the case of the Naeve Bayes 2. And an important thing is that we have expert knowledge in the lab that we would like to incorporate into the models. And this could be done using priors. For example, we know for each dyslexia what are the most typical errors, and we can provide this knowledge to the models through the priors. So using non-uniform priors, we can incorporate expert knowledge into the model. So to train the model, we have collected data from 313 subjects. Each subject read 196 words. So we have a corpus of around 60,000 words and responses. And we split the data into 70% and 30%. We trained the model on the train set, and we evaluate the models on the test set. We test the models on two different tasks. First, we split the screening test in the test set to two halves, and we provide the models the first half, and we ask the models to diagnose the test subjects, and we can compare the diagnosis of the models to the diagnosis of the experts. And second, based on the diagnosis of the models, we can ask the model to predict the left-out set, the second half of the test. So this is the prediction task. So the results for the first task, as you can see, the Naeve Bayes 2 achieves the highest accuracy. The blue here represents with typical models, and the gray colors without. So Naeve Bayes 2 achieves best diagnosis accuracy. And as for the prediction task, we use the perplexity measure. So the perplexity is a function of the negative log likelihood. So the lower the perplexity is, the better the prediction is. And I remind you that we test it on the second half of the screening tests. And as you can see, the LDA model achieves the best prediction. And as you can see, adding priors improve prediction and convergence speed. Okay, so to sum things up, the NB2 model achieves best diagnosis accuracy and could therefore be used for an automation of the diagnosis procedure. We would like to build an application that could recommend people to go for experts according to the results. The LDA-based model achieves best performance in terms of predicting reading errors. It could thus contribute to the understanding of dyslexia and could help improve the screening tests. And finally, the prediction and accuracy of the models are improved when providing the models with typical error priors. This is important because if the subtype approach to dyslexia were wrong, adding these priors would have damaged and not improved the results. So our results therefore provide support to the subtype approach to dyslexia. Okay, so thank you.
Question.
Thank you for your talk. And you mentioned that you use these expert knowledge to incorporate into your model, right? And do you perform any experiments as how, for example, do you compare the model with the expert knowledge incorporated and the model without the expert knowledge incorporated?
Yes. So we can see this in these graphs. The first graph, so the blue is with the expert knowledge, with the priors, and the gray is without. So we can see improvement in diagnosis accuracy and also here in the prediction task. Okay, so you can see with priors the convergence is faster and also better final result, better perplexity.
So how accurate are the expert predictions? I mean, can it be the case that you could do better? I would trust your model, you know.
So our ground truth are the...
That's the ground truth.
Yeah.
But are there studies on... I mean, there's notorious controversy between experts on these tasks, so...
Okay. Maybe the expert of dyslexia.
Got it. Yeah.
So the subjects that you had for the training and testing, were they all just either dyslexic or not dyslexic? Or were there varying levels of severity or anything like that?
Yeah, various levels of severity.
But the task that was for classification, just binary?
Not binary because there are different types of dyslexia, so
right.
It's multi-class task.
Thank you.
Just trying to respond to your question about the notorious debate. So indeed, there is a notorious debate, and there are people who think, as Yair told you before, that there are several types of dyslexia, or there is, if you just say dyslexia, it will cover everything. And I think one of the aspects of the importance of the work of Yair is that it shows you that you should prefer to give subtypes to dyslexia, so diagnose exactly what exactly is impaired, rather than just say dyslexia and that's it. So I think it's a contribution from his work into the notorious debate about dyslexia.
Right. Let's thank our speaker once again.
Thank you.